Hello and welcome to What's Cooking at My House. All right, so tonight we are going to do black and white cookies. Now, in our previous shows, I've done recipes that are favorites in our house, traditions, things that are from my family. Tonight, um, we're doing a New York style cookie. Now, being born and growing up in Colorado, I didn't know what a black and white cookie was. But my wife is from New York, and so I was introduced to the black and white cookie. Now, I haven't done this recipe in a long time. In fact, I couldn't find my regular recipe that I used before, so I had to print a new one out. And because it's been a while since I've made the black and white cookie, I'm going to have to really follow the instructions. I'll have to work with the instructions. Normally the recipes I've shown you, I just kind of know and I just kind of do. So let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do, well, you see I have 3 bowls. It's kind of like a Goldilocks theme, right? We have the small one, the medium, and the one that's big. So in the medium bowl, I'm going to do the flour, the baking soda, and the salt. So for the flour, what I'm going to do, I'm going to have to sift this together. I'm going to do a cup, and a quarter. I'm going to go ahead and put that quarter in, and we're going to sift this together. So I have flour, the baking soda. We need a teaspoon of that. And a teaspoon of salt. That's about a teaspoon of salt. So there we go. We're going to start sifting this together. I think what I'll do is run it through again. Oh, looks like I missed a little bit. All right, so sift that together. With my salt, my baking soda is well blended together. I'm done with that. So that's the flour mixture. Now, in the small bowl, we're going to mix the buttermilk and the vanilla. So the buttermilk, I think I need 1/3 of a cup, I believe. Better check, make sure. 1/3 of a cup. That's a half. Here's my 1/3 of a cup. Now, traditionally, my favorite cookies were oatmeal raisin and chocolate chip. But once I got introduced to the black and white, now I have 3 favorites. This is probably the most favorite. It's more like a cake, really, than a, oh, goodness. There we go. We'll do it. 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, I believe. Let's make sure. half a teaspoon. All right. So we have our flour, baking soda, and salt. We have our buttermilk and vanilla. It's too bad you can't smell that. I love the smell of that. And we're just going to mix that together. Like I said, it's been quite a while since I've made these cookies. I don't know where my recipe went, but I think this is pretty close, if not the same thing. Okay, now in the large bowl, I have 1/3 of a cup of butter that's softened. So that's going to go in there. We're going to add some sugar. And let's see. Our sugar count is half a cup of sugar. Now I'm using a cane sugar. You can do regular sugar, which is probably what the recipe is calling for, but so here's my half a cup of sugar. All right, I'm going to mix this together. With a hand mixer. Now, I typically do all my stuff by hand, but here we go. I just want to get this to blend together. So we have that blended together. We're going to add our egg, I think. Make sure. Well, actually, that was pretty short. The instructions say to blend that for 3 minutes. So this is where we'll take a break. I'll go ahead and blend this for a little bit longer. When we come back, we'll add the rest of our ingredients. Okay, so I've blended the sugar and the butter together, and what I'm thinking is by blending that for 3 minutes, you're going to add air to the mixture, and you're going to get that sugar and butter really well mixed. So now we get to start adding our other ingredients. First thing we'll add is 1 egg. So I'm just going to mix that in a little bit, and then I'll start beating it in again. Use the blender or the mixer. And this time I just want this to mix together. Once I have that mixed together, then what we're going to start doing is adding some flour. I'm not going to do it all at once. I'll start adding that flour in there. Before I add more flour, little bit of the buttermilk mixture. Flour. Now we're cooking. A little more buttermilk. Take this opportunity to kind of scrape the sides of my bowl. It looks like about 2 more, or 1 more each, I guess. Flour. Add the rest of the buttermilk. At this point, we're just blending it together. I'll scrape my bowl again. Make sure I get it all in there. Clean my blades off a little bit. And there we go. Maybe I can get some of that in here. Now the oven I've preheated to 350 degrees. And I can tell you that I know that Whole Foods has black and white cookies. The New York Daily News has black and white cookies. But it's always fun to make your own. So at this point, yeah, we're going to start making our cookies. And then we'll make the black and white part, the frosting. So I'll probably use a spoon for this. Let me see. It says about 1/4 cup. So the cookies should be about palm of your hand. I'm going to start with that. I have a cookie sheet right here ready to go. You don't have to worry about too much what it looks like because it will smooth out. It's going to spread out. Now the black and whites, the New York Daily News, are about the size of a dinner plate, which is great, but it takes a big oven. put these in the oven 15 minutes or so, just until they're golden brown. We'll take them out and you'll let those dry, or cool, excuse me. You let them cool completely before we do the frosting. So I'll get these in the oven. I'm going to do another sheet as well. And when we come back, we will put these on a drying rack or a cooling rack. Meanwhile, we'll make the frosting. So we'll be back in a minute. All right, you can see this. These are kind of a light golden brown. We set these on the cooling rack because they need to be completely cool before you can add the frosting to make them a black and white. So we're going to let these cool. While they're cooling, we're going to make the frosting. Okay, so our cookies are dry. Our cookies are cooling. Now we're going to make the frosting. And I'll tell you first, I'm using this bowl here. This is a special bowl in our house. It was my wife's grandmother, and she has put a lot of good mojo in this bowl. So when I'm cooking, I often use this bowl, especially when I'm doing bread. So anyway, we're going to make our frosting. First thing we're going to do is I need a cup and a half confectioner's sugar or powdered sugar. So there's a cup. You may see I've left some of the other ingredients out, and that's because I have 2 teenage boys. I might make another batch since I have everything out. There we go. There's a cup and a half of powdered sugar. What else do we need? We need corn syrup. Right here, we need a tablespoon of corn syrup. Oh yeah. That may have been a little bit more. It's okay. It's not all coming out of the spoon. So, there we go. So we have our corn syrup. Oh, some lemon juice. We need 2 teaspoons of lemon juice. So I have a lemon, fresh from Arizona. My neighbors have a place in Arizona, and their neighbors in Arizona grow a lot of citrus. So it finds its way to my house. It's 1 teaspoon. Two teaspoons of lemon juice. A 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla. Trying to be careful because this is actually more than a 1/4 teaspoon. Then we're going to add some water. I'm going to start with about 1/2 cup or 1/2 tablespoon of water. And then I also need 1/2 cup, nope, 1/4 cup. 1/4 cup. Where's my 1/4? 1/4 is 1/2 cup. Here we go. Of cocoa powder. I just made a mistake. Should have waited for the cocoa powder until I mixed it, because now it's all black. There's not going to be any white, so I'm going to have to make another batch, which is okay. And I can tell I'm going to need more water in here. I'm going to add. You don't want it too runny because you want to be able to frost the cookies. So what I should have done is mix this together before adding the cocoa. Because what you do once you mix it together, you can take half of it out, and that'll be your white, and then you add the cocoa, and that'll be your black, your white and black. Now in New York, I discovered that you can get a black and white cookie with dark bottoms. And what that means is they have chocolate on the bottom, which interestingly enough, on a black and white cookie, you turn them over to frost, so the bottom becomes the top and the top becomes the bottom. Very confusing. Okay, now you can see I have what should be just more black than I need, or more chocolate part, but let's taste it. Oh yeah, it'll work. So now what I'll do is I'll start another mix and not add the cocoa, then I'll have my black and my white. I'll be back. Okay, we've let our cookies cool. Now, the cookies have cooled. I've fixed my mistake earlier, so I added a little more cocoa to the chocolate part. I made a new batch of the white, and I have another batch of cookies in the oven so that I could use all the frosting. So now we're going to make it black and white. So we're going to flip these over. Like I said, now the bottoms now become the tops. And just as you can imagine, we're going to do one half with a white frosting and the other half with a dark frosting. Now you can use a parchment paper or something to get it exactly. I don't worry that much about it. Just going to spread. I'll probably do all the white, and then I'll go back and do the chocolate. But rather than to film all of that, what we'll do is I'll just show you what it looks like real quick. I'll grab some of the chocolate. And there you have a New York cookie, a black and white. So I'll finish frosting these. I have another batch in the oven, and that's what's cooking at my house.